2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur, where we are continuing our pre-show Christmas festivities, where we all went behind the curtain and discovered this film from 1996. Which, Forrest, why don't you tell us a little bit about?
All right, so tonight's movie is the 1996 Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas comedy Jingle All the Way. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Howard Langston, a mattress salesman in Minneapolis. He's a workaholic who tends to neglect his family, who neglects his wife and son, played by Rita Wilson and Jake Lloyd. But to make it, and he actually misses his son's big karate test for his purple belt, and to make it up to him, he tells his son that he'll buy him he'll give him a Turbo Man action figure, which is the one thing his son Jamie wants the most. On Christmas Eve, he makes a last minute trip to get the figure, and things get wilder and wilder. There, he has to compete with a mailman played by Sinbad to try and get their hands on the toy. And I think that's pretty much. And then hijinks ensue. So I guess I should go. I'll go around asking everybody their thoughts on this. I'll go clockwise from my point of view. Jake, was this your first time seeing Jingle All the Way?
It was. I cannot swear to it. I never saw parts of the film before, but I don't think I ever did. It was one of those ones that I think if it had come out a couple years earlier, I probably would have been all about seeing it. But I kind of didn't have much desire to do so when it came out. So I never really did. And I always was curious. I was always like, one day I need to watch that movie. And so this was as good an excuse as any. And it, in a lot of ways, it's a fun movie. It is a fun movie. I enjoyed it for the most part. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit for the most part. There were a few parts that have not aged so well, and a few parts probably weren't that great from the get-go. But for one, it kicks off with this cheesy, clearly a Power Rangers knockoff of the Turbo Man series. And I got to say, this is yet another movie where I would like to see that movie that they started showing us and didn't finish.
Seemed pretty sweet.
Like, what's that? It did
seem pretty sweet.
Yeah,
you could see why Anakin was a big fan.
they had Richard Mole as the villain.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I believe, that was him, wasn't it?
Yes.
And he's the guy, I believe, that plays Two-Face on the animated series, right?
Yep.
And then you've got, there were a lot of great cameos. You got Martin Mull showing up at one point. You got, we'll talk about one particular one that I know we were talking about in the run-up.
Right.
And one thing you forgot to mention or didn't mention in the main thing is that the whole time he's doing this, his wife, the Mrs. Tom Hanks, if I remember correctly, is fending off the lecherous advances of the late Phil Hartman.
I miss Phil Hartman so much. Like this movie, that was my main takeaway from it this time.
I still say if Ned Flanders was a creepy perv,
maybe Phil Hartman.
Yes. And it was just, I enjoyed that. And my favorite, and he even called him Ted. That was even his name in the movie.
It's pretty close.
And And we'll get to my favorite line in the movie was the takeoff of that. But anyway, overall, it was a fun movie. It had some unusually adult humor for something clearly aimed at a young audience. So it's kind of a mixed bag in some ways, but it was good times.
Okay, Brandon, was this your first time seeing Jingle All the Way?
No. Actually, it's kind of funny. The way it goes is I got to see part of it towards the end of what used to be a regular holiday tradition. I'm surprised how old this movie is. When did it come out?
1996.
Yeah, 96. So there was back in the day, I would spend a lot of my time. Christmas was kind of a magical time for me as a child growing up. It always was, and part of it would be spent here in Richmond, where I had a lot of relatives, and we would have this big Christmas party. And it was one of the final years of that party. But I remember that she'd have one of those. My great aunt would have one of those TVs on the. It must have been 97 or something like that, because it was on TV, and is one of those TVs on like the kitchen, the bar that would wrap around the kitchen, and I got to see pieces of it, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And I never thought much of it until probably almost 10 years later, and then said, oh, I remember this film. Maybe I'll check it out. And I did, and it was okay. I was like, okay, this is okay. I didn't quite understand why many people hold it as a classic, but then again, some people like Last Action Hero, so I can't really say.
I'm one of them.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm sorry.
So again, it's all about when you see it and where you see it. To me, it was like, okay, this is all right. I don't understand quite where it gets the classic status that seems, the cult classic status that seems to get today, but I can understand. If I saw this as a small child, I probably would have enjoyed this a heck of a lot more. But it's okay. All right.
Okay, Dave, is this your first time seeing Jingle All the Way?
No, it is not. I saw. It took me a while for me to see this film, and it was. But I did see it like maybe a year after it came out. I think because of how long ago it was filmed. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, but I was really in.
Oh, Dave.
I was really into Arnold Schwarzenegger at the time, and I think this was around the time of like Total Recall and films of that nature, and I was also a kid who always wanted to be a superhero at one point in time too. I mean, I had a wonder at that stuff, and to me, Rocketeer did this first, and then but to me, this is more of a daddy film. I mean, if you don't have kids or anything like that, and you're scrambling around, you're a last minute shopper for your family or something like that. You kind of get this film. I mean, because it is. If you're looking for the right Christmas present, and they're sold out of everything in every single store, you'll get this movie. I mean, it's it's kind of like the last minute shopper hell.
It's kind of the flip side of Christmas Story. Whereas Christmas Story, we're seeing it from the kid's point of view, where he really wants the toy, and here we're seeing it. Yeah, we're seeing it from the parent. But here we're on the flip side, we're seeing it from the parent's perspective. And what?
This time the parents almost put their eye out.
Anyway, Mo, is this your first time seeing Jingle All the Way?
Oh no, this is definitely one I saw brand new, because I'm sure you were the same way, Forrest. Growing up, if you were a fan of like the Arnie movies from the 80s as a kid, you saw every one. Like your parents would get, reserve it at the video store or some shit. And this might have been one of those. I like it. I think I liked it a lot more as a kid. I agree with Jake. There's parts that haven't aged well. Mainly just Arnie's entire performance. I feel like this is a movie with a bunch of solidly funny people doing him a favor. And because I don't know. That's the impression I took from it this time, was that definitely the movie would have been better with someone other than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Really? Put the cookie down.
There's some good moments.
Can you imagine anybody else saying a line like "put that cookie down"? Or
no. But I also don't think anybody else would have had him write in lines about you can't bench press your way out of this one, or
anybody screaming Jamie like the way he screaming. No, he doesn't scream at Jamie. He screams at Jamie.
They did try with somebody else because they tried with Larry the Cable Guy.
I'm thinking more people of the era. I don't know who I would put in there.
They almost had Tim Allen.
I think the kid who plays. The kid who plays Jamie is from Big Daddy, if I remember correctly.
No, he went on to play Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
little Annie.
Okay.
Anyways, that's kind of the impression I took from it this time. Was the rest of it's really solid, even bordering on great Christmas movie. But then there's some of the bits where Arnie's trying to be the gosh golly unfortunate Christmas dad that I just don't buy, or when he's running the office and stuff. It's come on. But yeah, it's fun. Him and Sinbad have a good they're good foils to each other or whatever for some goofiness. It's still a really fun movie. I think it's just one that I went into thinking this is still going to be as awesome as it was when I was a kid, and maybe isn't a little bit. But I think that contributes to its cult classicness, because like I was saying, I could see working this into a drunken Christmas routine.
Yeah,
just watching it late at night when the kid's in bed or something, and just laughing at all the Arnie cringe in there.
Well, you could take a shot every time he says Jamie.
or when that kid talks about Turbo Man.
Oh yeah, every mention of Turbo Man.
Oh man, you'd probably die. I did notice as a kid, I didn't realize how many freaking crimes are being committed every other minute in this movie. And he's fine with everything right up to including impersonating a police officer and blowing up cops, but he won't steal a gift from a kid. So we'll get to that, but there's some fun logic in this movie where it's holy crap, multiple felonies have gone down at this point. Just take the doll. All for a
superhero toy.
But it is cool how it kind of reflects back on the Tickle Me Elmo craze or people fighting over Cabbage Patch dolls. I mean,
Power Rangers.
This isn't even that crazily exaggerated. Those store riots, that stuff would happen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was. I remember the Tickle Me Elmo stuff. That's really one of the first major, huge. Yeah, people were vicious. They're going after each other for that stuff.
If people were going to the stores this year like they were in the past, I could see that happening over PS5 probably.
I think people have already been robbed over them and stuff. PS4 people were getting shot, so this was simpler times back when it was just a riot in the Kmart,
Anyway,
you'd actually have to find a PS5 to actually rob somebody.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, so I actually didn't get a chance to see this when it came out in theaters. I actually caught it about a year later when I was out on video. At the time, I was kind of indifferent. I mean, I saw it because it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I was pretty indifferent towards it. And then as a teenager, I kind of grew to hate it just because I thought it was so stupid and shallow. And now as an adult, I enjoy it for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
Because I just love how how it's I see it as a so bad it's good kind of movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like Phil Hartman, I love how he's so
God, that's
he's so
amazing.
fucking sleazy.
Sleazy.
And all the women are all over him except for the one he wants.
Yep, he steals like he pretty much makes the movie for me. And then also like the bit where Arnold Schwarzenegger is at the diner with Sinbad, and he looks over and instead of seeing Sinbad, he sees his kid drinking out of a flask.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Which to me seems kind of perfect for things to come with Jake Lloyd. Yeah, child star syndrome. But that, and then also like when he's in the Mall of America and Chase, or actually no, or like the whole big Santa black market.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, with like Jim Belushi and the Big Show among the Santas.
Weren't him and Stallone always promoting Mall of America back in these days too? Like you'd see the news footage of them coming down the thing with like the jackets on or something.
I remember them promoting Planet Hollywood. I don't remember them promoting the Mall of America.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of two different things. Yeah, maybe they just did part of that media tour at Mall of America, which would make sense. But. And then
like also like when he gets maybe I should wait until he's I'll probably wait until later in the show to talk about the final part, because the final act to me is just batshit crazy. It's just batshit crazy.
It's wild.
I find I'll admit it's a little. It seems like it has a bit of identity crisis. Doesn't know if it wants to be a satire of crass commercialization of Christmas, or the slapstick family comedy, or it doesn't. Yeah, it's got a bit of an identity crisis, but I definitely like it for. Again, I like it for I enjoy it personally for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many bits like where he just throws that booster in the friggin' trash, like screw this and some other kid's Christmas. I don't want the booster, you know.
He buys it off of. He gets it off because another celebrity, another major cameo, Yeardley Smith, the voice of Lisa Simpson.
Yeah, well, I think I read that like that was like the one that he almost got that toy from was like a deleted scene or something. I know she's she's credited in the cast as what was it that I saw listed here? It says woman who flirts with Howie. Oh, okay, with Howie. Sorry, I misread that. Okay, so she was flirting with him. I misread that. I thought she was one of the women flirting with Ted. That would have made that much creepier. But oh well.
She could have been.
she probably was. She probably was in the back of her mind. She's probably like, this guy lives next to Ted.
She's working her way in there. Right. Ask him to take a look at her drains or something.
Yep. Oh boy. Yeah.
All right, so I guess that we should move into the plot of the movie. Plot of the movie. Okay. So we've got Howard's son Jamie is having his big karate test for his purple belt while Howard is at work. They're having a Christmas party at his job, but he's busy making calls to clients. At one point, his wife calls him to remind him about the big karate test, and by accident he actually calls his wife his number one customer, which he says to all of his clients.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to make his way to the karate class. He gets pulled over by this cop who continues to pursue him who later ends up pursuing him throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What's everybody think? I guess this is the first. Thoughts on this cop because he's kind of. I feel like he's kind of like I kind of feel like he's Arnold's own Terminator in this one, going after him.
Right. Well, I liked it, and that was Robert Conrad, right?
Yes, I believe that.
That was also a good credit there. Good. He's the one I've seen a couple of times watching Columbo, or no, only once. But yeah, he's been around for a good long while. Oh yeah, Centennial. He plays Pascal in Centennial. Yeah, so I recognized him. I just couldn't place the name to it, but their little rivalry was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
To me, cops are either portrayed either in a good light or in a bad light, and I think he was kind of like both ways. He was kind of a good cop, but kind of a sarcastic cop, one that will zero in on you just because.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, just because Arnold went and drove around the shoulder of the highway.
Yeah, he was doing some stuff that's going to draw the attention of law enforcement several times. Almost every 10 minutes in the movie, he commits some type of crime. It feels like
exactly have to like make him walk the line or anything like that.
I'll admit though, Dave, there are relatively few things when I am driving or in the car or whatever that kind of tick me off more than that asshole who goes speeding down the shoulder because they don't want to wait for traffic.
Yeah, they feel entitled to be there on time.
Exactly. Yes, it's sense of entitlement, especially when you're driving a big car like Arnold was driving. So, like, to see a cop put him through the ringer, I was like, okay, good.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, so he goes home. His wife Liz is disappointed with him.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie is even more disappointed in him because he didn't show up. But he tries to make it to Jamie and get him the toy. Next Jamie. What's everyone's thoughts on Jamie and Liz?
Well, Liz is she seems to be like the stay-at-home mom. She's always doing the cooking, the cleaning. I mean, they have one child, but one child is sometimes enough. So, I mean, he's a growing young kid. So, we see her doing chores around the house mainly, and asking how or if he got the gifts yet, and things like that. So you don't really see her doing a whole lot except for getting hit on by Phil Hartman,
which she maybe doesn't draw the line with as soon as she should,
but she does eventually.
I don't know. He seems like the very.
I mean, I really don't think it. I was just gonna say, I don't think that either of the two characters were there to be super standoutish. I think they were kind of there to just be placeholders for here that significant other. Here is that child that you have. I mean, they could have been played by anybody and done almost anything. And well, I mean, there might have been some creepy things like, I wouldn't want Don Lemon playing the child.
I mean,
but
there were a couple of moments
it's that way.
There were a couple of moments with Ted's kid and him that I thought were kind of interesting. Like the fact that he was talking about divorce. And
it's the best thing that ever happened. Your parents should get
That's great. I don't know. I think they could have wrote the kid like it could have been very easy to have him come across as entitled or whiny. Like, he's never whining about getting the doll or anything. He just wants his dad to be there. So I found him pretty sympathetic as far as like kids and Christmas movies go. Sometimes they're whiny little assholes. So he didn't really come across like that.
The neighbor kid was there to be the entitled kid. I mean, his dad rented a reindeer for him. Like, basically, that's like, or actually, I got the impression kind of bought it and was going to just.
I think he rented it for other purposes, if you know what I mean. Like
I think he's kind of one of those parents who, like, they get their kid a seasonal pet for the holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that whole issue with like people who get pets for Easter or Christmas, and then a few months later, and then like a month or two later, they just end up neglected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a terrible thing to do for you. But I mean, Ted says as much. Like he said,
I like how he
said something.
Talks about
what's that?
He's like, I've been observing this family of deer.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And actually, that part right there, I was like, even if the dude wasn't a lecherous sleazebag, that right there, he's automatically the villain in the film. But it's they did, like I said, they did set up my favorite line in the movie, which is where the kid names the reindeer Ted. And there's the part later where Arnold calls and his kid's on the phone. He's like, "Put your mother on. She's next door petting Ted."
One of the many good
I'm like, oh yeah. You gotta wonder if that kid knew in the back of his brain how that would be interpreted.
Okay, and then so next day, Christmas Eve. Howard tells Liz that he got the Turbo Man action. He's already told Liz that he's got the Superman, the Turbo Man action figure, but that he left it in his office and he was going to go grab it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not true because he didn't get it. He heads out to first. He heads to a toy store to grab it, and while waiting online, he meets this high strung mailman Myron, played by Sinbad, who's got so what does everyone think of, what does everyone think of Myron?
He's fun. I was never an enormous Sinbad fan, but yeah,
he's all right. Yeah, he's loud.
But he was everywhere for a little while, and then
he was.
I remember, yeah. And then
even did that Genie movie that doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
That's just
do what?
And then it's the 90s, and he was just poof. He disappeared. I don't know.
He had a recurring role in Steven Universe. Okay.
But I think a lot of people. I think Myron is definitely the one character that I think a lot of parents most parents probably identify with.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, especially being a mail carrier myself, like that whole bit that he says when they first meet him about how you don't have much time this time of year and all the bullshit you deal with people sending through the mail. Like, I can't help but relate to that a little bit. And then he immediately starts like choking innocent bystanders because of some toy rant. So I sort of lost the sympathy there.
I can't help but wonder. We were talking about alternate casting though, and I can't help but wondering if John Ratzenberger had played the character, it would have been.
I don't think he would have had. I don't think he's. I think he probably would. I don't think he could. He's one of those actors who could go toe to toe with Arnold.
Well, it would have been a different role.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Very different.
But at any rate, it was. Yeah, I think they did work as foils for each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a good thing at least. I read that apparently Chris Columbus wanted to bring in Joe Pesci, and the producers were like, "No, he's too short. He'll look funny next to Arnold." Never mind that Arnold keeps co-starring with Danny DeVito, but
now that I think about it, I kind of wish that Arnold and Joe Pesci had done at least one movie together. That would have been
that would have been fun.
Yeah,
awesome. And so they go to this.
Actually, you know what would have been interesting is another comic foil.
What's up,
Brendan?
Well,
did he freeze?
I was just saying another comic foil was he used to be with Danny DeVito all the time.
Right.
Although I feel like a lot of. Although
you remember Danny DeVito when he would do the? I think they did like 2 to 3 movies together.
Two twins.
So yeah, that would have been an interesting one because I could have seen Danny DeVito in that part. The big guy is
Right.
a mail
Or-
carrier, but then again, it's hard to say with Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder, like, I mean, Jim Belushi was so great in that Santa scene, but I could also seen DeVito in like that role or something. Well, whatever, that would have been.
So anyway, they go to the toys. They go to the toys. They storm the toy store with all the other parents, but to no avail. And end up they end up at the mall. They end up looking for a Turbo Man at the Mall of America,
Mm-hmm.
where they're having a whole big lottery. Like the owners of the toy store throw a bunch of lottery balls in the air, and Arnold and Sinbad are fight each other for this ball, which winds up in the possession of a toddler, whom Arnold pursues for it, and which big mistake. He tries to grab for the toddler at a playground.
Yeah,
Getting smacked with a bunch of purses.
In a ball pit, which ball pit anymore.
Can't be doing the crocodile in the ball pit snatching toddlers. That's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, he gets called, even call him a pervert. He's like, I'm not the pervert. But
I just need that boy.
But ends up leading. But this.
I like how he tried to offer one of the balls out of the ball pit in exchange
for the.
Yeah.
But this ends up leading him to a Santa Claus played by Jim Belushi, who tells him he can get him a Turbo Man on the black market.
Yeah. Well, he says, well, Santa doesn't operate in broad daylight.
I love how serious, like, even though they're clearly just like a grown-up version of the Foot Clan gang with all their contraband,
candy cane nunchucks.
They still take the Santa gimmick so seriously,
Yeah.
He's like, have a little respect,
Yeah.
So he's like this warehouse of a whole gang of Santas, and ends up getting into a whole big fight. It ends up in a whole big brawl with Paul White, aka the Big Show.
Yeah.
And Vern Troyer among them is the Big Show and Vern Troyer.
Right.
Which ends up getting busted by the police, and he's able to escape by pulling a toy badge on the cops, who inexplicably buy his ruse.
Yeah, so that's a stretch because he's there's tons of Austrian cops running around in Philly,
around Minneapolis.
You never know.
Philly was friggin' trading places. Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah. And incidentally, you do have as well the Santa's elf is played by Danny Woodburn, and he's been in a lot of stuff over the years. I was trying to think what I knew him from. Yeah, and I'm not sure. He's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I probably saw one of those episodes. Yeah.
Good musical number in that warehouse too. It's not extended or anything, but it's a decent little ditty they give him there. The boy Santa forgot or whatever.
So anyway, they end up at more hijinks ensue. Arnold ends up at at one point. Arnold and Sinbad wind up at a radio station, trying to get hoping to get actually no, they were at the diner, where they talk about their family, talk to each other about their family lives. What's everybody think of this scene? Because I think this is probably one of the more heartfelt moments of the movie.
Agreed. It's like a proper Christmas movie for a minute right there, where it's like actually not people just being sort of super materialistic and kind of greedy and thoughtless. because the whole thing of it is like, this dude's already a neglectful parent, and then he gets basically made to think that the only thing that'll make his kid happy is this material thing or whatever. And so that's what most of the movie is, kind of a downer in a lot of ways because of that stuff. It's just people being like ugly to each other. But that there they show, they've both got it, they've got their problems. And what's that?
Yeah. I was just saying, reminded of the first scene in Krampus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Krampus, the first scene of that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, like you said, they're at the they're there, and then they hear about this opportunity to win the toy. Yeah.
Win the toy by naming all of Santa's reindeer at a radio station.
Yeah.
So they race each other to the station, and it turns out there's no toy there. It's just a gift certificate. It's just a gift certificate.
Yeah.
Which for me personally, I would have taken that. That would have been good enough for me.
Why not? Well, he was trying to.
Yeah.
The appearance in the show of Martin Mull, who, like I said, he's always fun. He had a recurring role in Arrested Development and 2.5 Sabrina. I believe he was on Sabrina.
Yeah, Sabrina Teenage Witch, and then he was also center square on Hollywood Squares for one season.
Yeah. So a lot of Roseanne episodes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was their boss at the diner or whatever.
Yep.
Right. Good times. But yeah, so it was kind of weird seeing him as he looked like, the long hair, like
that totally took me out of it.
He reminded me of their teacher on Beavis and Butthead. Like a live action version of Van Driesen, yeah.
Right. Good times.
Yep.
Okay.
Ooh, all right. But it turns out there's no. So they both. So they end up. But they get both Howard and Myron get cornered by the police at the radio station, and Myron pulls out a package, which he thinks he's gonna fake out the cops by saying it's a bomb, by saying it's a bomb, and then it turns out it actually is a bomb.
Right.
Yeah. And that's some pretty severe. That's some severe humor in there, dude. And especially when he was talking about, like, I work for the post office, so I'm unstable. Like, this is back when people still kind of like went and shot up the post offices sometimes, I think. You know, we haven't, thankfully, I haven't heard of anything like that ever since I've worked there.
Yeah.
So it's, at least good 10 years now we've been in the clear of that kind of stuff. But, and then like Unabomber shit had went on not even that long before this movie. So that's one of those things. Right. It's like, it's fresh. That'd be like if you were making, I don't know, airplane jokes 3 years after 9/11, like it would not have flown, but I guess it was different times in 96,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, this is also, you have to consider, there was that bombing of the Olympic Games several months earlier.
Oh yeah, true. That just got a movie not that long ago.
Oh, that's too bad. I was just looking at one of the possibles for the month, and it's not going to work.
Anyway, so at some point, Arnold makes a phone call to home, where Ted is helping Liz out with getting ready for Christmas, and Ted picks up and is basically having an orgasm in his mouth over Liz's cookies.
Mm-hmm.
It's good
these
stuff.
Cookies.
It is just, and he basically hangs up on Howie. Like he's like, "Yeah, I'll give her the message, dude. Later." Click.
He's like, "Hey, your wife in the shower. You want me to check on her?" Another pervy Ted moment. Another great pervy Ted moment.
Or when he took the friggin' apron off of her. My God.
If those lines those one-liners are pretty awesome. There was a talk show that I used to listen to for a while, and he used those put that cookie down, it's not a tumor, and those cookies all the time when he would
yeah. The Arnie soundboards were popular as hell for a while.
Yep, I remember those. Those are the Joe Pesci ones.
I think I remember a song on Sesame Street where they say "Put the cookie down" or some shit like that. So
he should have done a duet with the Cookie Monster or something, like right around the time. Badass Christmas rap or something.
So Howard ends up and that's also a point. He also calls up. He makes a phone call, and Jamie picks up, and he's trying to get Liz on the line, and Jamie mentions something about Turbo Man to him, which causes Howard to yell at Jamie, and then Jamie gets mad at him and hangs up.
Yeah, that's what kicks off their heartfelt scene in the diner, I think, and then they lead over to them doing the airhead thing, like taking the air radio station hostage for a minute there.
Right.
Anyway, so Howard makes his way. He finally makes his way home after his car has been stripped by car thieves. Oh god.
Stripped it good. Misspelled Merry Christmas on it too, I think.
Yep, they stripped Merry Christmas on it. In Minneapolis,
MERI or something like that. I think it's not even. That's good stuff.
That's like I once had a situation in Richmond where I was informed that would happen to my car if I had parked in a certain place, but this is middle of the day.
It's that place.
Yeah.
Hey, Santa might not operate in broad daylight, but there's other people in the city that do.
Exactly.
Oh god, yeah.
Namely the Foot Clan, man. They're on like a road tour.
Exactly, yeah.
Shoot, there's a place I work.
The Santa Clan.
Well, you know that Santa scalper shop was like a legitimate front for the foot.
Yeah, there you go. That's like their off-season stuff that they do the Santa thing, you know.
So Howard makes his way home, and he ends up sneaking into Ted. He sneaks into Ted's house, where he sees a Turbo Man figure lying, sitting under the Christmas tree. But he accidentally knocks over Ted's nativity scene and causes one of the three wise men to catch on fire.
Yeah.
And kicks it through the window. Actually, well, he was scared. He was confronted by the reindeer. And knocks over one of the three wise men and kicks it out the window on fire. Which
towards the carolers, yeah.
Yep, towards the carolers. And Liz isn't happy about Liz and Ted aren't happy about it, and decide to go to take the kids to the parade without Howard, while Howard is left alone with drinking with the reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
He does give that reindeer liquor, doesn't he?
He gives the beer to the reindeer.
Oh man,
he built.
It'd have been a lot more docile if they were feeding it booze the whole time. Those kids probably could have rode it around better and stuff. So I don't know. That is pretty savage though, because up to this point, his wife had acknowledged that Ted was being creepy and still, chose to have him drive them. Like, what? You can't drive yourself? Oh, his car was friggin' chopped. Never mind. Yeah. I mean, he was doing pretty well, but they weren't like a 2-car family. So,
but he's drinking in the club in Jamie's clubhouse. He looks behind him and sees Jamie's drawing of the three of them together, and ends up taxiing it down to downtown Minneapolis. Where he is pursued by that police officer, and ends up hiding in a building to get away. Ends up hiding in a building, which little does he realize is where they're setting up for the Turbo Man, the Turbo Man portion of the parade. And so they strip Howard and put him in the Turbo Man suit, alongside Booster, who played by Booger himself, Armstrong.
Yes.
Nerds.
The only person that could have done it better would be Guilford Gottfried.
That's for some reason, when I was a kid, I thought it was Guilford Gottfried because, but
they are kind of adjacent,
Yeah.
Like, You throw
Well, Gilbert
Bobcat
Gottfried
Goldthwait in there or whatever, and then it's like,
his voice right out of the get go, because his voice is just like a scratch on nails, like
Apparently that's not.
Yeah.
Apparently that's actually not his
Annoying.
real voice. He just exaggerates. He just exaggerates a lot. He exaggerates his voice a lot for that to do that. I think Howard Stern actually has once did an interview with him using his normal
that sounds
voice.
familiar, yeah.
Mm.
So the parade starts. So the Turbo Man portion of the parade starts. Actually, before that, Howard had caught Ted in the car trying to perv on Liz once again. This time, trying to get physical with her, and she knocks a thermos of eggnog on him, throws a thermos of eggnog on him, and leaves.
I think he says that she looks like a lost fawn or something. That guy has a thing with the deer, and it is troubling. We miss you, Phil. Thank you.
So Howard gets on the float. Finally the toy is right there, right in front of him, and he sees Jamie on the sidelines and calls him up to the float. But before he can present it to Jamie, before he presents it to Jamie, but before they can finally wrap things up. Myron shows up dressed up as Turbo Man's arch enemy Dementor, and where things just get completely batshit crazy.
Yeah, and I love how he says he's got a bigger brain when it really looks like small with that water in there.
So Myron's pursuing Jamie across rooftops, while Howard in the Turbo Man armor actually is just rocketing all over downtown Minneapolis, crashing through Christmas dinners and.
First, he shows that he's got those discs that he shoots out, and then he goes into the air rocket, Superman-ish.
Right.
Rocket
to get up, and then he's got this boomerang that can come up.
Yeah, what do they call it? A turbo ring or whatever it was.
So he's got gadgets.
I'm amazed they actually. I'm amazed that they actually would equip these suits with for an event for a simple wholesome event like a Christmas parade.
Right.
I'm amazed that they would actually arm him.
Yeah. They even had that thing about they were talking about he was so glad he showed up that the other guy, he's showing signs of recovery. I mean, they said there was brain function.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I'm like that. Rewatching that part, I'm like, oh gee. I'm like, geez. That's a rather dark moment for an otherwise silly movie.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, while Booster gets lynched by a bunch of kids.
Mm-hmm.
We all hate you. We all.
So.
Yeah.
Even Myron acknowledges that nobody likes Booster.
I think it's one of those supposed to be a nod at those characters and toy lines they would try to get you to likes. Because then I think if I remember in the beginning little intro fake movie thing, the kids all cheer or whatever when it's like Booster and he comes rocketing down and they're like Booster or some shit like that. And nobody really likes Booster.
Exactly.
He's like the toy you get when grandma couldn't get the good one,
All right, so I guess eventually after all this slapstick happens, Myron falls off a rooftop and lands on the Turbo Man float and gets arrested. While Howard is able to save Jamie who had been dangling from the said rooftop, and Jamie talks about how he wishes his dad. He wishes that he hadn't yelled at his dad and that he was there, but turns out Howard takes off the helmet and reveals himself.
I am your father.
Another sign of things to come. And is carted off a hero by the crowd.
Mhm.
Jamie decides to give the Turbo Man figure to Myron to give to his son.
Aw.
What do we think of that?
All
What do
he
we think of that?
needed is his daddy. I think that they should have included the part where they also showed Howard get arrested at home later because he was also guilty of multiple felonies at this point, and they wanted fugitive, So.
Yeah.
But he gets the happy ending because that's how you got to end movies like this.
Well, if you go to the end of the credits, he didn't get the happy ending.
I love how the cop shows up. He's like, Turbo Man, we are so proud. We would love you to join our force. Turns around and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry for the bomb, and I'm sorry for the bike, and this and that.
I feel like Turbo Man is a character that would have been a good fit in the Watchmen universe with all of his dysfunction.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I guess next segment, special effects. Well, I guess the big special effects were really with the Turbo Man suit.
Well, they spent all their money right there.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it worked out. It had that proper vibe to it, like it was supposed to have. I think the Power Ranger comparison at the beginning is pretty accurate, and you could see a little Rocketeer in there for sure.
Definitely, maybe even Mega Man.
Yeah. It's just fun stuff, especially the age range that I was in at the time when the movie was new. It was super rad, man. I mean, I think that there later was or maybe at the time, but I know for sure at some point you could get the movie with a Turbo Man action figure.
I remember looking at it. I think it was maybe a Sears catalog. It might have been a Sears catalog around that time. They actually did a real, or it was either Sears or Kmart. They did a real Turbo Man action figure.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't actually mind having one.
Oh, me either.
Maybe a little Sinbad too. I'm sure we could get him in a little unrelated army figure. And
yeah, and maybe I don't know. Would anybody want a booster figure?
I might go against the grain and just get Booster actually if I can work that out. I feel bad for him getting chucked in that garbage can.
Booster would have been fun, especially with the voice behind him. I would have been like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I would never. I'd listen to it and expect him to talk about getting killed by Guido the Killer Pimp or perving on college co-ed.
Booster's got stories.
Yeah, probably.
All right. And the music. What do we think of the music in this movie? To me, the music never really stood out in this.
It's got some Christmassy stuff. I mean, it does the
Standard
trick. That
holiday movie.
It was effective.
Yeah,
I just absolutely love when the Santas sing in the warehouse, though. I think that the song is nice, and it was just so forced, but it made it funnier, because he's kind of like, "What is this?" But they're fully committed to this Christmas gimmick. Damn it! So they've have this rehearsed musical routine that they've got. It's just it's adorable.
Right.
Rocking around the Christmas tree, run Rudolph, run Jingle Bells.
Yeah, they could have stood to do some more songs though. Those Santas and some more kung fu.
I do think Brian Setzer's rendition of Jingle Bells does stand out.
Oh yeah,
it's the one song that stands out to me in this movie.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Agreed.
Well, plus that's it's in the title of the movie too. So, all right. I guess next item. Favorites, scenes, characters. I guess I'll go around and ask Jake, favorite scene or character or moment or.
Well, again, my favorite moment's when the kid said his mom was petting Ted. there were some good moments overall, and that whole scene with the Santa scalpers, definitely, I found that kind of amusing as well. Yeah.
Brandon, favorite scene or character moment or anything? Or
I like the fight between Arnold and the male guy. Basically, Arnold and Sinbad fighting in the Turbo Man suit. I just thought that was hilarious, and it was awesome at the same time. To me, one of the high points of the movie, right next to the Santa Claus thing.
All right, what about you, Dave? Favorite character or scene or any other item in the movie or anything else about the movie?
I have to say it's in between what is it, the bouncing ball moment and the Santa workers. I get a kick out of Jim Belushi's character there.
All right, and Mo, favorite character or scene or?
Oh, Ted for sure, dude. I mean, he had the mad, housewife game right there. He should have just kept to his own, though. He shot too close to the sun trying to get that one unattainable housewife. He already had quite the harem going on there before that. And it was convincing game, too. It was like, I just got up here and put up some spare Christmas lights for you, neighbor. Like, it's the type of shit that... from his point of view, being that this guy's probably spending more time with his wife than he is, like, I feel bad for the Ted character at that point, because, I mean, obviously, when you see what's to come, you don't anymore. Yeah. But it's like, that could be looked at as just a neighborly thing to do, since this guy's always working and stuff, I don't know if I'd volunteer.
What was it, Christmas with the Cranks, where they're like, where the guy's like, well, don't worry, I'll just put the lighted, I'll put the sandbag right there, something like that. That wasn't that one. It was Bad Santa, where he was just like, no, don't worry about it. I will put the lighted sandbags in your yard for you, because he's just like, fuck off.
Yeah, so I mean, I like Ted. He's funny. Phil Hartman's always fun to see. That would definitely be favorite character, and some of my favorite moments, including Pet Ted. I might have to call it that from now on. Favorite moments is definitely just the whole Santa warehouse thing. It's just so awesome. Jim Belushi kicks so much ass, and there's a lot of ass kicking that goes on. Seeing the Giant in there was nice too, or the Big Show, and seeing him relatively skinny compared to what we're used to seeing him as now. I kind of forgot.
I don't think he was even really even a big name in wrestling back when that movie was made.
Not quite, no. I mean, he might have just been debuting actually in WCW not that long before or after this. So I don't think he was really much of a deal till like '98 when he was doing the whole monster truck thing with Hulk Hogan and shit. So that was neat. Vern Troyer, I totally forgot about that. So that was another hidden layer to that. And the nunchuck candy canes are amazing. I might have to make myself a pair of those for next year.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to agree with me, Mo. Favorite character, Ted. Phil Hartman he's so good at being so sleazy.
Yeah. It's like the other role I know him best as probably is Bill Clinton on the on SNL.
I would say for me, I would say Frank Sinatra on Saturday Night Live. That was my favorite celebrity impression of his. And also I have to agree. I don't know. I kind of want to go with the Santa warehouse, just because of how ridiculous. It's so funny, but so ridiculous. At the same time, I kind of want to go with. I also like when he's in the diner. When he's in the diner with Myron, because that's one of the more authentically heartfelt Christmas moments in the movie. But actually, you know what? I'm going to go with the Santa warehouse. That's just comedy gold right there.
Right.
And Jim Belushi is just he's
that's great.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add about any additional?
I think that this is one of those movies you just got to look at as a sign of its times. It doesn't hold up as well as something like Home Alone or other stuff. But at the same time, it is just a lot of fun. I think if you at all existed in that time period of like the toy crazes back then, you could relate to that a little bit, or at least have some nostalgia for seeing those crazy ass news reports. So some of those sequences get pretty crazy. I think we've skimmed over a little bit how insane that must have been to choreograph all of that mayhem in those stores without anyone getting seriously hurt, because people were going for it, man.
He trips over Sinbad with a remote control car. It's like, poor baby.
And this definitely is the same basic time period as the Home Alone, like the first two movies. And it's like, and that this came out 4 years after the second one, so it's like the same basic time. Right. And again, I remember that time very well. And again, this was kind of on the. For me, I was a little bit older and a little bit wiser, but it still felt some of this. But like, it does beg the question of what kind of movie would we have gotten if Jamie was replaced by Kevin? Hey, Kevin probably would have gone to a life of crime much more assuredly than he would.
Sinbad might not have survived.
No,
probably not.
Well, look at him and Uncle Buck. He was still a smart ass there. So that was when he was younger.
But yeah, I do remember these times because I was into like the action figures and like all that kind of stuff. Like, and we'll definitely talk into that. We're going to talk a lot on that when we get into the Batman movies in a couple of weeks. But that was kind of my deal. But it was the thing back then for kids of right up to at least mid-teens, probably.
Huge demographic behind that stuff. So it's one of those things that it's not, I can see how it's more of a cult classic than it is a classic Christmas movie, and you just got to look at it like that. If you,
I feel like a lot of people who were kids when that movie came out, a lot of them are now parents themselves, and probably definitely have a lot more, and probably definitely identify with a lot more with Arnold and Sinbad.
Shit, I tell my kid, you're getting that PS5 next Christmas, maybe the Christmas after.
Or maybe you'll get a gift certificate.
Yeah, good things come to those who wait, kid.
Right.
Now, I will say I have never done last minute Christmas shopping.
Good for you.
But my father has always done that. He had when he actually would leave the house, he always waited until December 24th to drag me along to get a Christmas present for my mother, and it would be a 4-hour ordeal. I remember that at the place until he figured out just the right thing. But that's the only time. That's my only real experience with last minute Christmas shopping, because I usually have my stuff done by early December, late November at latest.
It makes me think of that episode of that 70s show where Red and Eric forgot Kitty's birthday or something like that, so they have to go get her last minute gifts but everything's closed, so she gets a funnel and like a balloon from the gas station.
It's
a good funnel. I saw that one. Yeah, for funneling.
I guess the message here is just don't do last minute Christmas shopping because it's miserable. Do it at least like a month beforehand. Hit those Black Friday after sales on the internet and just do all your Christmas shopping then.
All back then, internet shopping wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Well, and also
and wait till the next year to get the hot new toy.
Well, and the other message, of course, is one. If your kid watches a particular show 24/7, you'll probably have a good shot getting him something related to that show.
Yeah.
And two, when your wife tells you 2 weeks before Christmas, this is what to get him, you should get it.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it, that's also as far as like the hot new toy, and I feel like that's one aspect. I feel like that's one aspect of that's as far as like hot new toy, the hot new toy or the it toy. It's kind of dated. I mean, nowadays kids. I mean, because I have an 8-year-old nephew, and he doesn't care about getting. He doesn't care about. I don't even know what the hot new toy is, or the it toy this year is.
PS5.
PlayStation 5, man.
Yeah.
That's got to be
changed,
the
you know?
hot toy this year. Is the new next generation system.
I'll
Yeah,
tell
I
you,
think from experience with my kid, Hatchimals were a big deal a couple years back. So that's one thing that I remember, like her wanting, and it definitely was sold out everywhere. I didn't have to fight Sinbad to fail at getting one. But
I remember some of my cousins were looking into those, and it was tricky.
My nephew. I don't think I mean, for him, it's like he just wants video. He just wants video games.
Pretty much, yeah.
the
I think
last
that
the last time I paid attention to toys was when those big, gigantic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out. Came out for the new TMNT movies.
Yeah, I got one of those over here, Raphael. Dude, I think it's just it happens super infrequently now. It's got to be something like fidget spinners was an example of a hot toy, but those were fucking everywhere, so you didn't have to struggle to get them.
Yeah, those are more toys. Those are. I feel like a toy like that has more in common with like Pogs or Tech Decks.
The Omega yo-yos. I'm sure you remember those.
I remember Pogs vaguely.
Yeah. It's that's the thing is it's a cultural thing, but there are still things like I said, the PS5 for computer enthusiasts. That new graphics card that came out that sold within an hour.
Stupid iPhones, people get crazy about those. I feel like every time there's the new one, right?
You see, though, today is more reflective of the second film with Larry the Cable Guy, because in that film you have an individual who ends up creating a shortage of the hot new toy by buying up all of the toys.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got maybe about 24 minutes left. I did not watch the second movie because I can't stand Larry the Cable Guy. I guess let's Brandon, tell us a little bit about the second movie if you can.
Honestly,
well, Larry the Cable Guy ends up. Yeah, we can end. Yeah. Actually, it's not that bad. I didn't hate the movie. It comes across like as more of a made-for-TV version.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he goes and he's competing with the stepdad for the love of his child, and they both think that she wants this toy. So rich stepdad buys up all of the toys, and you get to see Larry the Cable Guy trying to beat the stepdad to grabbing all of the toys, and having a lot of unfortunate things happen to him.
Shit, sounds like the mom really is petting Ted this time around. Shit.
It was a fun movie. It did have some heart to it, and I've gotten to enjoy it about as much as I enjoyed the other one. So I mean, it's not like say National Lampoon's Christmas Movie 2.
Not looking
I don't know. I don't know who would ever talk about that one.
Yeah.
Can only imagine.
Next week, same bad time, same bat channel.
Not for another 2 weeks.
Alrighty. So is that it?
That's good.
I think we jingled all the ways, bro. Like
Good times.
So
the way done got jingled.
next we have a great movie to talk about on the Inside Movies Galore channel. Please come over and tune in to that, where we are going to be trading places.
Indeed.
Say good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Happy holidays.
All right.